I want to talk about three different outlooks heading into the 2024 season for the Houston Texans and three guys that have different perspectives and different outlooks. However, despite those different perspectives, different things on the line, they all kind of have the same mindset and they all seem to have gone on somewhat of a spiritual journey in the offseason. It is the Locker Room, number one source for Texans digital content. I'm Landry Locker, Texans digital beat reporter. And a guy that you can hear all over the place and see all over the place right here on YouTube digitally. I want to talk about Will Anderson. I want to talk about Bobby Slowik, and I want to talk about Jalen Pitre. Three guys that are going to have important roles, very important roles for the Texans, and three different mindsets. And despite these different mindsets, spirituality seems to be one of the themes of their offseason. I'll start with Will Anderson and his perspective, and be sure to subscribe, like, ride along for the best coverage in the country. Ever since we hit 10,000, the momentum has not stopped. So I appreciate everyone for coming through. The community is growing, and it's a fun time to cover this squad, in large part because Will Anderson. Will Anderson's one of the faces of this franchise. From his perspective, he's just trying to get better. He's put on 15 pounds. He's trying to get from having a really, really good season, which was Defensive Rookie of the Year, to being up there in that upper tier of edge guys. And when asked about the biggest difference for Will Anderson this year compared to last, Will Anderson kind of got spiritual. Here was Will Anderson's perspective earlier in camp.
What's different about you and your suit? You know, you're not a rookie anymore. You're coming into all offseason. What's different for you, and how's it feel?
Yeah, I feel like my focus is just less on what everybody has to say and more on God. I think my biggest thing is knowing that, like I always tell y'all, like my approval comes from Him. You know what I'm saying? And ultimately, everything that I achieve in His lifetime, I'm putting Him first for it because He's the reason why I'm here. And I think that's the difference. Like, this year, man, I'm like, God, whether it's a good game, bad game, anything, like you're going to get the praise and glory for it. Like, I'm going to let you use me however you want to use me each game. And I just want to be a servant, be a leader, and be a blessing to my teammates and help them out in any type of way. So that's my whole thing coming into this year, man, is like, God, however you want to use me, I just want to be a blessing to this team.
Well, I got a chance to talk to how did you come to that epiphany where you say, hey, I just want to focus on not what everybody else is saying, but just focus on what God has for you?
Yeah, I think it's just a maturity, man, and just diving deep into the Word and spending this off season, more in church and more in the Bible and learning myself more and just seeing like how the outside world is and learning like, bro, like, and once you get to that spiritual level, I think it's like, bro, like God is your ultimate goal. Like He's the one that wakes you up in the morning. Like some person in somebody's basement don't wake you up in the morning. Like their opinion doesn't matter. So my thing is like, I want to put all my focus there and let God handle the rest.
All right. So, I mean, that's interesting. That's deep. And it's really impressive. I find myself saying this a lot. This is a young team, but the maturity level is way up here. So you see Will Anderson and you see his perspective. He's trying to establish himself as one of the faces of the franchise. He's trying to get elite. He's trying to become a better player. And he thinks part of that is being more spiritual and being more one with God. Now let's go to Bobby Slowik. Bobby Slowik's perspective is a little bit different than Will Anderson's. Bobby Slowik's trying to get the hell out of here. Let's just be honest. He wants to be a head coach. He's happy here. He obviously has had a good first year, but him and CJ Stroud, you can make a case that with how important communication is in football, this might be the most important form of communication when it comes to the Texans reaching their goals. And that's the relationship, the dynamic between Bobby Slowik and CJ Stroud. I asked Bobby Slowik about his perspective, and he talked about his bond with CJ Stroud, and it was a little bit deeper than football. You'll hear Bobby Slowik right now.
It's like every relationship, right? There are no perfect relationships, but that's part of being human. That's what's great, especially with me and him. I know we've mentioned this before. We're both God-fearing men. It makes conversations very easy. We know there's up and downs all the way along the way, but our intentions always are good.
And I mean, there you go. So he's saying that the relationship with him and CJ, it's beyond football. It's pretty spiritual. So you can kind of sense a theme here. You have two guys, one trying to become an NFL head coach, one trying to be elite. That's about as high of a tier as you can have in this business. And then you have another guy in Jalen Pitre. Jalen Pitre had an awesome rookie season. Statistically, he had an awesome rookie season. He had 5 interceptions. He was one of the first names that D'Amico Ryans mentioned when he did his press conference. I make no mistake about it and make no bones about it. Last year had to have been disappointing personally for Jalen Pitre. They're trying to figure out a new role for him. But despite the fact he's doing whatever he's doing and Will Anderson's doing what he's doing and Bobby Slowik is there, the spirituality lives on. Here is Jalen Pitre giving a little perspective about his offseason.
Different this offseason as you approached getting ready for this year? Did you change anything?
Yeah, I took a break, from football for a little bit, relaxed, breathed a little bit, got away from the game. And I think that put things into perspective for me. It helped me to, understand that my job is important, very important, but it's not everything. I tried to get closer to God, diving into the scriptures daily. And I think that has done nothing but help me with my patience, help me with my loyalty to others. Like all of these things that I want to do in my life and in football is something that I'm just trying to continue to focus on.
So there you go. So that's Jalen Pitre. Will Anderson kind of said the same thing. And I think the other really interesting thing about this is Pitre was here before Anderson. I'm sure the Texans have their type of guy, and Will Anderson has said the Texans aren't for everyone, but you have a guy who was here before that's saying the same thing as two guys who just arrived last year. So the culture, like when you talk about a culture, Jalen Pitre was a part of a really bad football team, one of the worst teams in the league a couple of years ago, but his mindset is synchronized with two other guys who are in different situations. And when you talk about culture, you talk about chemistry, you talk about all that stuff that, I'll be honest, maybe we over-romanticize at times in this business. But when you talk about it, it's interesting to see that 3 guys in 3 different situations have the similar mindset. Be sure to subscribe, like, right along. We're less than a month away from a real freaking game. Cannot wait for that. Thanks for coming into the locker room. And always remember, when it comes to this Texan stuff, we're all in it together. Appreciate you.
Got the game in the headlock. Localize every time. Can't stop, won't stop. Yeah, we top 2 and we not too. Plugged in daily digital on YouTube. We got taste for days. Opinions to give. We got